Little shops or something.
Good afternoon, councillors, staff, members of the Youth Council, members of the public joining us on our live stream. Welcome to the April meeting of the Community Wellbeing Committee. There are no apologies, so we'll move on to the Youth Council's inaugural report. And we've got Liam, Emma and Olivia here, seats up at the table. Thank you for joining us.
Kia ora koutou, Mayor Clark, mana whenua representatives and councillors and council staff. It gives me great pleasure to present the inaugural Youth Council report for 2024, and as Chair, I am super excited to see how the Youth Council will progress throughout the year. We started off this year with a good healthy number of 22 youth councillors, and my fellow youth councillors next to me are going to elaborate on some of the work that we've done in the last few months and some of the planning work that we have underway. So I'll pass on to Emma.
Perfect. Kia ora, I'm Emma. I'm Deputy Chair of this year's Youth Council. So over the summer, we had a summer committee for the Youth Council. So there were 5 of us that wanted to keep doing the mahi over summer, and we came up with an event for the public to keep the name and people know about the Youth Council. So this was our idea of the umbrella market. The umbrella market was a market where where 5 to 18-year-olds were able to sell any of the creations and products out of the umbrella. So we had this in February, and it went so well. We had people through constantly all day, and people, like some of the kids, even sold out of the products. It was so good, and just good vibes the whole day, and it was good seeing everyone, like from the public, having good reviews on it and everything. So while we also did this, we also planned our orientation day for the 2024 Youth Council. This is where the summer committee also planned what we were going to do for our orientation day, the food, venue and activities. And it was such a great day, and we all bonded and grew together as a 2024 Youth Council. It's great.
Kia ora, I'm Olivia Little from Southern Girls High School, soon to be James Haggas College, and I am a first-term youth counsellor. Orientation day went really great. We had lots of positive feedback from it. It really helped us get to know each other better. Youth Council helped us to develop good teamwork skills and how to work together. Getting to know each other was really beneficial. We learned lots about Youth Council and the things that we are responsible for. We learned how many councillors and mana whenua reps there were and found. I really like that we had orientation day and getting out into the community and using parks facilities too. I hope we can do it again next year.
As I stated, we've got 22 youth councillors from all walks of life around Invercargill, and we've just we've finished our consultation for the long-term plan, so you'll be hearing from a submission from the Youth Council very shortly, and we're at the moment just in the process of designing what committees and what projects that we want to focus on throughout the year. And throughout the year, we're more than welcome to hear council's impact, or if any questions for us, we'll be happy to take them. And I'll take any questions from the floor from the councillors.
Thanks, Liam and Emma. I guess you two are returning youth councillors, and it's a very different youth council to what we had previously. The voice of the youth council was very loud at this table in its previous term. So how many new members have you got, and what's it like bringing them up to speed with what the role involves?
We have 6 returning members from last year, so quite a fresh cohort. A lot of younger members this year, which is great, so that we can train them up and hopefully they'll stick on with the Youth Council throughout their time that they can.
If I can follow up on the summer committee and the umbrella market, which you had to pivot at the last minute and move it indoors. It seems to have, the summer committee seems to have gone really well for you in that it's given a degree of continuity, and because your year finishes so early in November, is it something you'll encourage the Youth Council to look at again?
Yes, 100%. I think it worked really well having it. I mean, it was in our summer, but we all took the time and we were all committed to do this for the city. Yeah, so I definitely would advise the next to do it.
So formal Youth Council meetings, I think from memory you've had 2 so far this year. You've got another one next week.
Yes.
And really it's been a case of getting up to speed and working out your submission for the long-term plan that's taken up your time. I also note the invitation that we've had to an afternoon tea.
Yes, highly recommend you come along to that. So another new thing that the Youth Council's introduced is bi-monthly meetings. So we have our formal meetings here in the chamber, and then we have a not so formal meeting in the library upstairs in the hui room, where we can, and it's a less formal environment where we can all sit around and discuss some key learnings or some key topics coming up. So there's no minutes taken and there's no formalities, so it's where we can be comfortable and we're not restricted by these tables. We can go and talk to the people.
Thanks, Liam. Sorry, I jumped in on top of you. There was something you were going to add, was there?
No.
Councillors, any questions on their inaugural report? Councillor Campbell.
I don't know if it's on the inaugural report, but a general question: what sort of themes are you finding are coming out now that you've had a couple of meetings and a lot of new people? Do you find that there are new themes coming through from those younger new members?
What do you think?
From last year, this youth council really care about the well-being of the youth and like mentally and just physically. So I think we're going to hop more on that train a bit. But also, I think we're quite keen to do another event. So everyone seems pretty keen to do that. Yeah.
Olivia, as a new youth council, what's some big issues that you were focused on this year?
I think definitely just getting out more into the community and making our voices heard and known that, we are youth council, and just kind of getting our voice out there. I think that at the moment we're doing a good job with lots of upcoming committees. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I just said thank you.
I've got Reverend Cook, Councillors Boyle, Dermody and Soper. Reverend Cook.
Kia ora, a comment first. Well done. I think the challenge of having to pivot for Umbrella Day and that you managed and it went so well done on that. Just was interested to see that you used STV as the means of choosing your chair. As you may know, this has been topical at this table, not successful but topical. How did you find the experience? What did it do for you?
So we actually went right back before we started voting. We had nominations, so nominations for chairs, and then we compiled that. We had a small education period where we just taught the new youth councillors what is STV, how does it compare to FPP, and how does even MPP introduce into that? All these letters and anagrams thrown around. How did you find voting through STV?
I enjoyed it. It's definitely different to what we're used to, so it's like a good learning. I mean, it came good on our outcome.
Yes, so you were successful.
Yeah, I'd do it again.
Lol.
And Olivia, STV, how did you find it?
I really liked it. It gave us the opportunity to, first of all, vote. I don't think a lot of the new youth councillors have done that before, so it was a great opportunity to do that, but it worked well for us. Yeah.
I think from memory, the last 3, at least maybe more, votes for chairs at the Youth Council have been through the STV process, maybe 4 years now. Sorry, Reverend Cook, that was your...
No, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for the feedback, because obviously we did hear from you that STV was the way we should go last year, but obviously we didn't listen very well. But just interested in how in practical terms your experience went, so thank you for sharing with us.
Your consultation goes, Reverend. Councillor Boyle.
I'd just like to comment on the leadership and the initiatives that you've taken. I was there at the Umbrella project in the afternoon, and I had a granddaughter who had an umbrella who was particularly excited. What I loved to see was all of the youth, well, it seemed to be all of the youth council there all the time, encouraging the kids and being present and being actively involved. For my granddaughter, they were great role models, and we had a conversation about the youth council. You know, how do you get onto it? What is it? And all those things. So I think, I'm not sure what your real purpose was apart from having an event, but I think you gave a very good role model and example of what a youth council can be. So well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Dermody.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, a couple of comments and then a question. Yeah, really love the enthusiasm and thanks for your time. It's refreshing to have you around the table, so thank you for that and endorse what you've said, Trish. Question I have, and it's been I think it came up last week at council around public transport and how we cater for our young people in particular. So that's something I, as a councillor, I certainly think other councillors would be of the same view. We'd really appreciate some really good insights on how young people use transport currently, but more importantly, how that should be shaped in the future to make sure we're meeting the needs of young people in our city, and not just within the traditional structure of Monday to Friday 9 to 5, but what should it look like in the weekends?
So, Councillor, if I can jump in, the Youth Council can take this back as something to raise. They haven't discussed it.
Yeah.
But
No, I don't want feedback now.
Yep.
But I want them to go away and discuss it. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Cool.
And also, I'd encourage you to think about, say, how could we integrate somewhere like Sandy Point and Bluff, and you know, and get a really strong lens coming through from our young people around what our public transport system needs to look like now and going forward. So that's something I'd love to hear some feedback on the future from
Great.
council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, congratulations, Liam, Emma and Olivia. Thanks for the presentation. I was going to start by saying compliments on using STV, and I'm glad that you all enjoyed it. But my other question, and I'll also say I was going to make something of a similar comment to what Councillor Dermody's made, that we discussed at the last infrastructure meeting, the youth subsidy the current government is removing from public transport, and I was going to urge you to take that back and give us some thoughts on it, because it is your age group that is heavily affected there. But my other question, looking at your report, you've identified 8 main ideas for your committees. I'm just wondering if you've started the process of drilling down, because 8 will be a lot for you to take on. I presume you're going to try and get that down to 3 or 4?
We do have a youth council meeting tomorrow here in the chambers, where that is one of our main items on the agenda, is to hone in on a particular project or projects on what the youth council would like to focus on. And we'll be more than happy to bring up your public transport issues and concerns at the time.
At some stage it'd be good to let us know what the 8 were, even if you do drill down to concentrate on only 3 or 4 of them. It'd be really good to know what the initial 8 were, and perhaps some of the reasoning why you've decided to concentrate on the particular ones you've seen as the main ones. It's just interest, I think, for the whole council to know how the youth council has zeroed in on what you see as the priorities.
Yeah. We can get that to you. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Mrs. Coote.
Hi, I also thank Mr. Chair. I also want to congratulate you. I'm really interested in really the makeup of the council and how it connects in wider to rangatahi across our basically communities, because I'm including Bluff here. So I'm really interested in, you know, what the representation or what rangatahi are involved, especially from Bluff, and how, you know, everyone's sort of interwoven and brought together. So what are some of the strategies?
We do have a few youth councillors from Bluff, if I recall, and their issue, they did raise issues, and questions during the long-term plan about Bluff in there, and it was good to see that Bluff was included in there. And we did talk about the safe swimming options, if we should discuss that in our submission to council. So Bluff is still on our mind.
Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, congratulations, you guys. Well done. Do you guys get any feedback from the youth about what they want in Invercargill as entertainment? Because I know my grandkids harp at me all the time, there's nothing to do here. Do you get any feedback with
I
that?
can give you a list to take home,
Yeah,
actually,
same.
Councillor, of 101 things to do in Invercargill that don't cost money. Bring it in.
Your grandkids should get in touch with the youth council. We'd be happy to work with them
Good one. Yeah.
to find some attractions or entertainment things to do, especially during the school holidays coming up. We're more than happy to help out.
Great stuff. I'll get
It's a really vexed one and has been
Means they've
ever
got
since
a
I
lot
was
of
on
babysitters
council,
there.
working with the first youth council,
Doesn't
trying to
look
figure out what it is that people want to do. And essentially they want all the entertainment but for free, which is impossible. Most common thing lately has been, well done Councillor Kett, that's a gin in the clubhouse, has been the provision of a time zone. And again, that's a commercial decision. I know that time zone have been approached and at the moment they're not necessarily looking at coming here, but I will get that to you, Barry.
Thanks for that. Yep. Good one.
Mayor Clark.
Yeah, Liam, I've got the same sort of question. Last weekend we had a public meeting on youth crime, and one of the questions, we had a range of views, of course, as you can imagine, of what to do with these young people that are got nothing better to do but to create some havoc in our city. But one of the issues came up was exactly what Barry mentioned, which was the issue of what entertainment is there for us and what role could council potentially have. So in South City recently, there's, in the Saving Grace project, there's a move to have about, I think, 30 computers in there where the teenagers can go in free, as Councillor Ludlow said, freedom sometimes comes at a cost, and they can do what they call esports, which I'm not sure how gaming is actually a sport, but I just wonder whether there's a desire for something like that in the city as well, or whether there's something else that we're missing. When we canvassed the 18 to 30-year-olds last year, we got feedback that they wanted street music and food stalls in the streets, and we've done that, but we just don't seem to have captured the younger youth group.
Yep.
So if you could give some thought to that going forward, that would be really good.
We do have, it's in the works at the moment, but I'm sure Council will be interested to know. In May, we have a festival coming up at the Civic called the Block Takeover, where there's small little workshops. We have inspirational speakers coming down. We have esports available. So we're looking forward to making that publicised. Well, it is now on live stream. We're publicising that to young people as something to do. So that's coming up in mid-May. So look out for that. And we would love to have councillors along.
I guess one of the things for me is that we've created an inner city upgrade. So we've got the mall and the streets running either side of it, and that attracts people in, but it attracts the young ones in as well. That's the place to hang out. But there seems to be, unless you've got money to spend in the mall, it seems as though there's nothing else for them to do. So they just sit around their street. I just wondered, with your network,
To be fair, Mayor Clark, I don't see that as being any different to what I've observed over the last 50 odd years.
Yeah,
Used to be the centre plots, wasn't it?
Or outside the
You
post office.
reminiscing?
I don't know. They were gone by the time I got here.
Or the
No,
Savoy,
that
or
is
just
not
driving
true.
around the roundabouts.
There are two esports competitors at the table, and just by way of defence, tell me what sport's about darts. It's competition.
Yep.
Councillor Broad, I noticed your hand up.
Oh yeah, just wanted to encourage the Youth Council. Great job on the umbrella market. I enjoyed myself, and great pivot last minute. And also encouraged by the age range within the Youth Council this year, which I think is a testament to your visibility, but also the work you're doing and leadership you're showing in this space. So well done. Just out of interest, after being there on Saturday night, was there an invitation or an awareness within Youth Council around the youth crime meeting at the Civic?
Not that we have received, no.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for your
Thank
time and attendance this afternoon. You'll notice I brought you forward in the agenda, so you can
Have the rest of the day.
get back to school. No. And we'll look forward to seeing you at Youth Council tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Somebody like to move the reports received? Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor Crackett. Thank you. We go now, councillors, into minutes. We've got minutes of the Extraordinary Community Wellbeing Fund, Extraordinary Community Wellbeing Fund Subcommittee. Councillor
Move
Boyle.
those.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Soper
Move
was the
those.
chair. And seconded, Barry. Questions? Put that all in favour?
Aye.
Against? The Extraordinary Community Wellbeing Fund minutes from January 22.
I'll move those.
Thanks, Councillor Boyle. Seconded,
Seconded.
Councillor Soper. Questions? Put that all in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Same committee, different date.
Yep.
Thursday, 1 February.
Yep.
Councillor Boyle, Councillor Soper. Questions?
Yes, I will.
Reverend Cook.
An extraordinary number of extraordinary meetings. Is this the norm for this committee, or is this just something that has started to become the norm for this committee?
Councillor
Could I
Boyle.
speak to that? Oh, it isn't the norm. We did have two. There were quite good reasons why we had two, quite separate, and we think justified. The first one was to do with, we'd had a presentation late about the rat bags, a film, and we hadn't, by the time we got to the end of the day, we hadn't discussed it, and it didn't seem to be time to give it justice, so we held that over. And the second one, as I recall, was about Shakespeare in the Park, that's right, or Shakespeare in Town.
In the town.
And it had come in late. The application had come in late. There was reasons for it, and we felt it was one that we would want to give due consideration to, so we allowed for that special meeting.
Thank you. I just
No, it's fine. Yeah.
and found it interesting.
Yes.
May I congratulate the committee on its flexibility. Minutes of the Community Wellbeing Committee from February 13th. I'll move. Seconded, Mrs. Coote. Any questions arising from those? Not, put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We have the Creative Community Scheme from February 22. Councillor Boyle.
I'll move so.
I'll second. Any questions about that fund? Put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. I'll move the receipt of the District Licensing Committee February and March minutes.
I'll second those.
Thank you. That is arising. Put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Back to you, Councillor Boyle, for the Community Wellbeing Fund, March 21.
Yes, I'll move that. I'd like to make some comment there, if I
Please.
could, please. I'm sure that you'd have read the minutes in detail and had a look at some of the things. You might have questions, but there was a discussion at that meeting about Matariki and about funding and when we ask for funding back. And it was a very long and involved discussion. And the resolution that is in those minutes is what we arrived at.
Can I ask, is that the public
Is it
minutes or
Oh,
in
beg
committee
your
minutes?
pardon.
We'll save
Sorry.
that.
Thank you.
Seconder for those minutes.
I'll second those.
Now, Councillor Soper, thank you. Put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We've done the Youth Council. That brings us to the activities report. So I'll go through each of the sections if there's anything you wish to ask about. Customer environment. Building and planning. Also says customer plus customer services. Building and planning. Grant.
No.
Compliance or animal control. Councillor Pottinger.
Thank you, Chair. Look, can someone talk me through the process for received barking complaints and then ongoing barking complaints that aren't resolved? What is the process and the end game? I've just had a few calls about this, and things don't seem to be that simple. So, can someone?
Yeah, I'll go to Gillian in a moment. It is a depends situation. When people have issues with barking animals in their area, they become very sensitised to it, and so you will hear every time the animal barks. But Gillian, do you want to go through the process?
I can. If it's a first complaint, we ring the owner and discuss with the owner what the issues are that have been brought up by the complainant, and try and work with them by providing education and assistance to help them deal with the issues. Sometimes they're not aware of the issues if they're away at work, things like that. If we have ongoing complaints, we then go to what we call a bark log, where we provide the complainant with a bark log to complete over a 2-week period. That is then returned, and we analyse that bark log looking for any patterns or areas where there is maybe certain times of the day where there are prolonged issues. We then work with the owner again and maybe do what we would call some sit downs in the area as well at those times to see if we can identify those issues. And again, it would be coming back to working with the owners to see if we can resolve those issues. As a last resort, we would be looking to issuing a notice to deal with the barking.
Can I ask what the notice does to deal with the barking?
So we can place requirements on the owner to assist with the barking and deal with that. As a last resort, there is the ability under the Act to remove the dog or dogs.
But there are several steps before that.
Before that, yes. And that would be a very much a last resort.
Right. So this would probably take over 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months?
It depends on how often the complaints are that we've received. We often find that people will come to us as a last resort where the complaint is that they've been dealing with this for months and that it's been an issue for them for months, but they only come to us. So we can only deal with it as at the point that they first identify it with us.
Okay.
So the sooner it's raised with council, the easier it is to get things on the book and the process is started.
Certainly, and it makes it easier for the dog owners to deal with those issues as well, the sooner they're made aware of it, because often they're not.
Councillor Dermody.
Yeah, just a question around understanding the report. The registrations, that's new and rolling over registrations?
Dogs? But dog registration, that is,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the RFS received, so that's in addition to the other pieces like infringements or impoundment or dog returns, or are they all linked? Would they be linked through to an RFS?
Some of them could be linked, so impoundments could be linked to an infringement, to an RFS. The infringements at the moment, you'll notice that they are a little bit higher than they normally would be, and that tends to relate to unregistered dogs where we've infringed the owner. We've given them the opportunity, they haven't registered, so
the requests for service around a lot of those wandering dogs, barking dogs.
Yeah. And so just any insights, if you have them, around the increase in both months, January and February, is there sort of anything obvious, or is it?
Probably more just summer months, but not any patterns that we've identified, no.
Because they're up, both months are up quite considerably, aren't they, on the year-on-year data?
I think we're starting to use RFS a lot more for if we have maybe a microchipping, a dog to be microchipped or things like that. We're getting those in as RFS so that we can track the workloads and that as well. So
there's not necessarily more challenges out there, just maybe we're using the system differently.
Yes.
Okay. It helps keep better track of
where
progress is, so that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bond?
I want to talk first of all, I've noticed a new layout to this report with the short explanations and the way the graphs are. It's really easy to read. So I wanted to talk about the compliance for the February report. And I wanted to mention or specifically talk about some issues that I've noted on S Street outside the pizza place with goods and services vehicles stopping there to offload into the mall on an angle, deliver easy drivers on the footpath, parked up behind each other, picking up food from the mall. And I wondered, and courier drivers as well, parking in places that they're not allocated places to park. I wondered, how often are these breaches being monitored, and what can we do to ensure the safety of our public comes first, then to delivering goods parked halfway on the road, halfway on the footpath, where people can't get past into the mall.
I've seen courtesy coaches there too.
it's just becoming more and more abused.
Gillian, is there anything within compliance around the parking enforcement in Esk Street that's being looked at?
So we only have one parking officer currently. We're working through the process of bringing on more parking officers, so that does make it a little bit more difficult. But they're dealt with as part of the regular patrols of the area. So we would normally have staff, up and down that part of Esk Street continually over the day. We try and educate as much as possible. People that are just, parked up there to pop in and get their coffee from Starbucks, or, the deliveries, they're just trying to move them on, that sort of thing. There is a little bit more leniency towards courier drivers, but again, they've got to ensure that they're parking in a safe manner and not restricting the other users of the road.
Okay. Okay. I don't think it's going to fix. I mean, I realise that we don't have the manpower to monitor that area, but members of the public are actually approaching these people, and escalation down East Street 2 weeks ago could have been quite severe, but wasn't. And I just wonder, if public want to complain, where is the best place for them? Are they going to walk downstairs to the front desk?
Phone council's front desk.
Okay, so still go the number?
Yep.
Okay.
Snap a photo, email it in.
Yeah, because they obviously can't get into areas because of these issues.
They've also got the ability to, they can work via our website to put in complaints in that as well, and they'll come through to our parking staff and we'll follow up on them.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cricket.
Two comments, and the first one is just a follow on from Ria, in that do we have to have a look strategically around that area to see if we have enough loading zones or 5-minute parking zones to alleviate the issue? Is that something that we could look at?
We went through a pretty extensive process which you were part of.
Yeah, but what I'm meaning more is that front end of the perhaps on Tay Street where the movie theatre is. Has that been reviewed lately rather than Esk Street specifically? Because I know people park across there to go to the movies, and they're in there for an hour and a half to 2 hours. So potentially we could look at regrading part of that to alleviate the issue.
Good point. There's a bottleneck after 5 when the Deliver Easy people start up, and they're a pretty special bunch of people with a short fuse.
Well, it could be a time-related parking window. That'd be good if we could have a look at that. My second comment really was just to congratulate the comms team for launching their TikTok and the success of that. I've had a lot of people that wouldn't typically interact with council on Facebook or social media or anything like that, or really don't give too much of a hoot of the fact that that it's going on, and they've been forwarding me the posts and laughing about it, and actually generating a bit more conversation and a bit of that younger generation or demographic. So
cool.
Well done to them.
Thank you. I'll take that under advisement. I'm an old person. By that I mean I don't have a TikTok. Ria.
I just wanted to comment from what Alex said, that we know there has been unintended consequences through using over time, that these issues are starting to show down East Street. So I think that is a good idea to relook at that loading zone potential and timings.
I think there's also a degree of sensitivity that exists in amongst the community, where we've seen people have a general tendency to escalate a lot quicker now, and that's part of it. Reverend Cook?
Mine's a follow-up to that as well, because I have actually photographed people and they saw me photograph them, so they moved.
Did you run?
But I do think that the issue of the pickup for deliveries is not, that's not the purpose of Esk Street, and it's not the purpose of the loading zones. So is this a conversation that management of ICL need to have with those businesses, and should there be accommodation within the parking building for short stop things rather than parking on Esk Street?
They will still park right out the front because it's quicker.
Quicker be beggared. This is not the point. It is not their space.
I get that. I'm just talking about their behaviour.
So what signals can we send about where it is appropriate, and should that be us, or should it be a question we ask of more management because it's businesses within the mall that are using the service. And that's really where I want to go, because the street is a shared use street, which means that it's not for delivery vehicles to stop and take up what should be a place for cars and pedestrians who are transiting through. It should be safe for us to do that. There are car loading zones. If there are insufficient, if we need to look at removing parking spaces, that's a different conversation. It should be brought to us, but that's not what we're having. What we're having is people assuming that we don't care that they park illegally in the street.
On the footpath.
On the footpath.
The alternative is we infringe them.
But we can't catch them because we've only got one person to monitor.
Well, there's a process underway to get another. But, yeah.
So does that mean that it, sorry, Mr. Chair, sorry, a bit agitated about this, but does that mean that at certain times of the day and to a little bit later in the day than we would normally expect a parking person to work, that we are going to need to have a presence on Esk Street?
Sometimes there is a degree in flexi time as to when enforcement happens, when there are identified areas of focus, and we've used that previously in the past for weekend work, for example, when we know there's been areas that need attention. Same thing would apply to early evening.
4:30 to 6 o'clock at night would be...
So the comments of council are noted. Alex.
Just to wrap it up, I think what's really obvious is that there's been a community behaviour change, like ride shares and deliver services aren't going anywhere. And in the same way that when taxis came around, councils and they developed taxi stands to be able to provide for it in safe places, and that's been functioning for many, many, many years. So I think if we were thinking laterally and understanding that they're not going anywhere, providing for them in a safe environment and reviewing the area would probably be the best outcome.
Yep, I think we need to acknowledge also that there are a large number of people who park in goods and services loading zones that are not goods and services vehicles, and a large number of people who park in handicap parking zones who don't have the appropriate signage in their cars either. And they also don't like it when you point that out. Councillor Soper.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just as another wrap-up comment.
I'll have a final wrap-up comment.
Since we are talking about this particular issue being looked at, it may be that we need to look a little bit wider at the question of pedestrianisation of Esk Street. That may focus the minds on the actual future of that area in a way that I have certainly heard from many members of the public they would like us to focus, and rather than doing half a job, it may be that we need to do the whole job and actually put that forward.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting any discussion on that at the moment. I'm merely putting it in
You're going to get some.
talking about Esk.
We've had the discussion before, and we were in the position that the retailers in Esk Street, not those that have come into the mall, but the other ones that work through a lot of turmoil, we did guarantee them a time.
Yes, councillor, I know, but that time has now gone on a bit, and it may be
barely a
do
year.
half a job that it is.
It's 12 months.
It is time that we indicated looking at the full job.
It'd be tough to punish them because of some Delivereasy and Uber delivery drivers. But yeah, Mayor Clark.
Yeah, look, we've had a previous meeting about this issue, a public meeting which Gillian and I and others were involved with. And the issue is that when you concentrate shops into a mall or adjoining streets, you have a lot of delivery that you need to do. And we can put more loading zones in, that's great, but it comes at a cost of other types of parking. And so Gillian, to her credit, has asked her people to be a little bit more lenient, I guess, of the courier firms that drop off. They're often in and out of the business within a minute because their workload is such that they're not hanging around. They're in and out very quickly. But if you are there, while they're there for a minute or two, you'll see them there. And it is a frustration, I understand that. But these shops still need to get their supplies in. And even if we pedestrianised Esk Street, how do we get stuff into the shops that are in there? It's quite a long haul if you do that. But just wanted to contribute that.
Thank you. Councillor Kett, then Councillor Dermody.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I travel down Esk Street by car at least 3 or 4 times daily, 7 days a week, sometimes more time. And I've noticed later in the afternoon or early evening, there's a lot of cars parked all over the place, vehicles, mainly to pick up their takeaways that they've ordered from the takeaway areas. You know, we need parks for them. It is a bit higgledy-piggledy at times, but it's not an inconvenience to me, if one of the drivers that drives through there regularly. If the cars can't park there, those businesses would suffer tremendously. So it's a shared space. It worked previously as a shared space, and I've seen the cars parked where the people are sitting on the seats and where the flowers are, the bulrushes, whatever they're called. I don't see a problem with it. It should be a shared space, and those businesses should be able to carry on and sell takeaway foods.
That said, the 700 car park's not far away. Councillor Dermody.
At $3 a shot?
Not for the first half hour.
It's interesting. I don't know how many people around this table ordered Uber Eats or those sorts of things, deliver easy, but certainly a previous guest would represent a cohort that use it significantly. And to me, and I think Alex has made a good point, it's part of being a modern city.
Yeah.
You know, that functionality you have in your city to be able to do that, and equally we've asked businesses to come into the mall, and then we're going to cut them off the knees by sending them into a car park. So I think we've got to come up with a pragmatic solution. We're not going to come up with it today, but you know, shared space and functionality around different times, different use seems to be where we'll land, representing the fact that we want a city that's got vibrancy. It's part of how people function in our city, particularly young people, and we've got businesses that we need to be able to earn a buck because they pay the rates.
Now look, kudos to Councillor Crackett. I think her suggestion of looking at reallocating the old bus parks on Tay Street outside the former front door to Readings is probably worth following up on. Councillor Stewart?
Yeah, I reckon if you'd asked all the businesses in High Street and the Esk Street, I mean, you'd find they wanted to have those cars in there. I know quite a few of the business owners there, and they're more than happy to have vehicles in there.
I know one who parks his own there.
Probably.
Any other comments around compliance or animal control? Environmental health? Comms? Play? Parks? Mayor Clark.
Just in relation to Sandy Point and the figures there, the report says the user council low at Sandy Point December, possibly reflecting busy family schedule. So I've had an email today from a member of one of the leading members of the Reedy Sands users group, which has about close to 1,000 people on their Facebook page, and they say that's not a true reflection. They said that around that period it was very wet, but they're again raising the issue that council, in their view, fails to control the spread of lupins out there and seeding grass, and some of that seeding grass requires dogs to end up going to the vets because they get damaged from it. I know in previous seasons we have had a contractor in there mowing the grass, but I know this season nobody was interested in doing that barlage because there's a glut on the market. So that's an ongoing issue, I think.
Think you. Councillor Stewart.
Yes, as far as the tree removals go, is there a plan to? I know there is a plan, but when is the plan to remove the big trees in front of the North End Bowling Club, where the museum walkway is going to be?
I'm not sure I can answer that. I have to come back to you with that one. Thanks, sir. Councillor Dermody.
Yeah, a few questions. With regard to the Donovan Park Master Plan, tourism, it says that's one of the core principles of Donovan Park Master Plan, tourism. What tourism are we going to be expecting or trying to develop in Donovan Park?
Well, from my memory, it was regarding potential events that were being looked at. That was what was discussed at the workshop.
So is that not events instead of tourism? Tourism.
I think it's just a link through to it.
Okay.
So we can incorporate that, Councillor Dermody, when we look at the final edit of the plan.
Yeah, and then just below that, a workshop plan for councillors in March. I'm not aware that we had that.
Yep.
Yes, we did.
We had it after the Coopers Creek workshop.
There's one after the other. Do you mean you chaired one?
Was that what we?
Was
that a
brilliantly
workshop
chaired.
or just a?
It was a workshop.
It was workshops.
Okay. Then further down, the track network on Bluff. Have we seen a budget and a budget versus actual for that project lately?
Management level, we're working on that.
Can we see it through the committee?
This committee?
Chair. We're spending.
Is there a specific reason for it? Or?
Well, my understanding is we're spending up to $2 million down there. You know, that's a significant amount of money, and I'm not aware of a budget or a budget versus actual on it where we are today. And I think that's really, really important. We make sure that that project is delivered on time, on spec, and in budget.
It's obviously not in the current financial year, but you let us come back to you on that, please.
I was going to ask a question around the play thing, but everyone knows my view on that.
Nobody's telling you what to do, Councillor.
He's not costing us any money.
No.
No. Or is the person that was working for us free costing us any money? So I wonder how they're working if they haven't got computers and all the connections to the internet, because that costs money. But anyway, pest control in Queen's Park. Is that, I note we've done some good pest control in the cemetery and at Thompson's Bush, Queen's Park.
Rex, you aware of anything?
I'll have to come back to you. I mean, these are questions that can be asked.
Yeah. And then just on the replanting, when we did the pulling down of the trees on the flight path, we pulled them down because on the flight path, but I'm pretty sure we've replanted the same trees that we pulled down, i.e. we've replanted macrocarpus, gum trees, all are going to grow to 30 metres. And so have we just pushed the program down the line by 30 years? Because if you walk along those areas, they're exactly the same trees that were pulled down.
I thought they were all natives that were planted.
No,
I thought they were natives.
There's not the macrocarpus and gum trees in amongst the other ones.
Macrocarpus are a native, but the gum trees obviously aren't. I wasn't aware of gum trees being replanted. We'll check though. Thank you. Councillor Bond?
So can I just add to Grant's inquiry there? And when we had Carolyn sit here and talk about the master plan for the trees through Queen's Park and the risk of the trees in the areas that needed immediate attention, such as the flight path, we talked about the remediation of future plants and what those types of plants would be. And I see that down in that flight path there's plenty of plants and young trees coming through. Some of those trees that are there are actually reshoots from the gum trees or from trees there previously that have just naturally spawned, as well as the new vegetation that's been put there. So in the master plan for the park and the tree plan, it's got when we take away what we're putting back in.
So now the trees were felled, but we didn't remove the roots, so that might be a
Some
problem.
are still waiting to get crunched up.
Yeah.
Some months later.
Mayor Clark, then Councillor Soper.
Yeah, just two quick things. One thing for Rex. This predates you, Rex, but we had a goal 2 or 3 years ago of planting 1 native tree per resident in the city. Be nice to get an update somewhere along the line, just where we're at with it. I think we're about halfway. And on an effort of some good news, most people sitting around this table would have got some feedback, certainly from South City, about the South Invercargill post shop closure. I'm glad to announce that I've got an email today from New Zealand Post to say that they're deferring that for 12 months.
Good news. Councillor Soper.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I was just going to make a comment on the pest animal control. I wasn't quite sure what Councillor Dermody was asking, but what I noticed about the pest animal control was that we seem to be dealing quite effectively with the rabbit plague,
yes,
and not doing too badly on the possums. So I had thought from the numbers that it was quite a successful pest program, which I presume is continuing. Is that right, Rex?
Yeah, and I think Councillor Dermody was just questioning whether it's actually been activated in Queen's Park as well.
Yep, because there's still critters
Yeah,
at
the-
Thompson's
the-
Bush in the cemetery.
The rabbits in particular were a constant complaint at the cemetery, which I see we're addressing in a big way. Mm.
Okay, thank you. That moves us through to arts, culture and heritage. Reverend Cook, then Councillor Soper.
I'm just delighted to see that He Wakatoa acknowledged that they have been provided with items from Te Pātakatauka, and there were 2 exhibitions, but also to note for councillors who didn't see the successful exhibition of tamatea, they could have gone to Te Anau and seen it over Waitangi, but that collection, that resource was well received outside of the region. So another successful thing that came out of the initiatives undertaken by what was the South Museum and Art Gallery is now Te Kupeka Tākatauka Trust. So that we added value to He Wakatoa. I'm very pleased to see the acknowledgement of that.
Thank you. Councillor Soper.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I was going to make a similar comment and say compliments to the Southern Region collections for basically ensuring that the collection is being used and being seen. I do know that there have been other uses of the collection over the last few years at He Wakatoa in particular, but it's good to see that other areas like the Marae and Te Anau are able to benefit, because we've now stepped that further in the actual movement and proper housing of our very valuable collection. So it's good to see they're being used and seen.
Councillor Dermody.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just shout out with Splash Palace. I know we got feedback through the recent customer survey around that facility, and you know, the way that's been presented and the cleanliness of it's looking really good. So well done to the team down there. It's not an easy place to keep clean because there's so many people through it, but I think the team's doing a really great job. So that's really good. Well done.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
I just noticed the paragraph headed repatriation, and the fact that we returned Egyptian artifacts to the Embassy of Egypt, and I know that that's, you know, a worldwide trend. But my question was really about who is accountable for authorising that. I mean, given the kind of ownership structure that we have, which is complicated.
So that would be with the collections.
So
Reverend Cook.
Te Kupeka Tākatauka Trust. But it was done before we were in existence. It was done under the South Museum and Art Gallery. It had been about 3 years in the gestation, or 4 years perhaps, pre-COVID.
I was still the chair. That's how long ago
yes,
it was.
And the urgency with which it happened at the end was because the Egyptian ambassador was returning to Egypt at the end of her tenure here. She had been part of the journey and was really eager for it to happen before she returned, and we presented it to her on her last working day in New Zealand. Okay. So it was mission accomplished, and really happy to have been part of that.
Okay,
nice. Thank you. Any further questions on that? Nope. Venues and events.
Can I just make
Councillor
a comment,
Soper. Yep.
Mr. Chair, that it's great to see the Scottish Hall being upgraded, and whoever has undertaken that initiative compliments on that. It's really good to see that the hall is being used better and is being minor cosmetically renovated to provide for better services.
Interestingly, Councillor Campbell and I just signed off the final report for IVM, and it was still part of the old company that was responsible for the upgrade of the supper room out the back, and it's amazing what a difference just throwing a bit of carpet and a heap up in there has done for users, and it is another space. But you know, it's centrally located, it's actually very affordable, and it's become a popular asset, which is great.
Mr. Chair.
Libraries, sorry.
Sorry, just on there, because we decided that the money from IBM was to go to potential alterations there. When will that come back to
Well, we've
us
just
for
signed
discussion?
off today. It
So
doesn't-
the money's coming back, but will we see the conversations about the alterations design, or will that just be a BAU sort of type thing?
It's an operational matter, I think. We've given direction.
Fine.
Now, the staff have a budget.
I'm happy with
the
that
money we
answer.
gave them.
Yes.
Now do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
But we
it.
can certainly feedback progress on it. I think
Be
that would
nice to
quite
have a
appropriate.
walk through sometime to see it.
A walk through the sheltered area.
Well, a walk through the Scottish All renovations is what I was thinking.
Libraries. Sorry, while I'm also scanning the table, I'm also making my way. That's the last part I've got of that part of the agenda. So if there are no questions, somebody like to move that we receive the activities report? Barry and Evelyn, I'll put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against, carried. That brings...
Comments about the activities report, please.
Geez, you really just missed your opportunity there, councillor.
Have you cut me out, have you?
Well,
Cut me?
what's your question?
I just noticed on the January activities report from January 23.
Which part?
Civic building here.
Right.
We
The
had
civic building or the civic theatre?
Civic building.
Okay.
We had 611 inquiries in 23 compared with 870 in January this year. And when you go down to the Bluff Service Centre, a huge increase. And then further down to the February report, there's 906 inquiries for February last year and 1,438. Over 500 more inquiries, and the same at the Bluff Service Centre from 308 to 533. Any reasoning on that, why there's more people asking questions?
Before I get a staff member to answer, that was at the front end of the report, Peter. Michael or Rex, any reason for the increase?
No, through yourself, Chair, we'll have to come back to you on that particular question.
Comfortable with that, Peter?
Yeah, sorry to inconvenience you, but
No, that's why I go through
lost my
it
page
in an
here
order.
on the machine.
It was at the front.
Yeah, but thank you very much for letting me speak anyway. Yeah, it's a huge number of
It is
large
a-
increase. Okay, thank you.
It is quite a jump. So we'll move into public excluded for the reasons as outlined in the agenda, which is to receive minutes. Thank you to those who've joined us on the live stream. Hope you've enjoyed the ride. Moved by Councillor Crackett and Councillor Stewart. Put that all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. We're in committee. Just let this